Live struggle legacy. It's a whole movement.
Hey everybody, it's your boy MP, Live Struggle Legacy, and welcome to episode 10 of the Live Struggle Legacy podcast. If you haven't already done so, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification button, that like button, drop a comment. If you're listening on your favorite streaming platform, please make sure that you like, you follow, you save. If you can leave us a review, we would love it. I appreciate everybody tapping in. So, if you haven't already done so, also please make sure you listen to those previous 9 episodes, because we're right in the middle of the story, y'all, and you want to be up to speed or it's not going to make a lot of sense. So where I left you off, we went from the medium high. I was in the solitary with the homie Slim. We were about to go crazy, and then we both got designated to the camp. Now this was what's called an in-house transfer. So it's called a satellite camp. A satellite camp being the main complex is the medium high, FCI, Federal Correctional Institution, and then the camp is a satellite of that. So the function of the camp, yeah, we're warehousing inmates, but it's also all the inmates of the camp help run the medium. In other words, they control the warehouse that stores the food, the commissary, the maintenance crew. It's all run by the satellite camp. So here's what's crazy. This is crazy. 1 minute they're treating you like Hannibal Lecter. You gotta back in to put your arms through this little hole in the door so that they can cuff you backwards so you can't try to hurt the cop or escape. And then they put you through what I told you was kind of like the orientation deal again, because it's still a different institution even though it's a satellite camp. But where it gets crazy is now they dress you out, right? So in the medium high you wore khaki. Well, now you wear green when you go over to the camp. And so they uncuff you, you get dressed out in your camp issue green with your name tag and your number on your shirt, just like the khaki, but it's green. And here's where it gets crazy. So it was me, it was Slim, my co-defendant, and then it was one other dude from Carolina. I forget his name, but he was the homie. He was cool as fuck. He was in the medium with me. I knew him in the medium, and we all 3 of us went over to the camp at the same time. So now we're waiting in the holding tank. And if you heard me refer to tanks in previous episodes, I know there's some vernacular, some words that I use that people may not understand what I'm saying if you haven't been through this. But a tank is just it's a holding cell where they put you, and you go through holding cell after holding cell after holding cell when you're going through transit, when you're going through booking, when you're going institution to institution. So we're sitting in this tank, this holding cell. We're dressed out in our khakis and we're waiting. And then the CO, correctional officer, calls our name, and he says, "All right, come on, let's go." And so no cuffs, nothing. Now they open the door. And we walk out. No cuffs, no chains, no shackles. Now you got to remember, this was 2010. I don't remember the exact date. But I had been shackled since June 25th of 2008. So I hadn't seen any freedom like this for over 2 years. Going on 3. And now all of a sudden they just open the door. You know, and if you ever see like an animal in a cage and you leave it in the cage, and then you open up the cage and the animal doesn't know what to do, you know, so we're coming out of this cage and it's like, you see that wood line, there's no bars, there's no fences, it's like You almost want to sprint off, but you're like, well, they already got me. I'm not trying to go through all that again. So now we get into this. It was a Chevy Malibu. It was a white Chevy Malibu. And I remember the cop. He was actually one of the semi-cool cops. His name was Torres. He was a Puerto Rican dude. And Torres has us all get into the Chevy Malibu. And I have no idea what we're going. But in retrospect, I remember later on, because I actually worked this as a job, he took us to what was called the warehouse, where they stored the food for the entire complex and all the commissary, this big ass warehouse building. And so he pulls right up, and we're sitting in the Malibu, cars running. None of us are cuffed. We just got our property bags. That's it. And he turns around. And he says, now don't you go running off on me now. And he gets out of the car and he walks into the warehouse. And the car's running. The keys are in the car. Now you got to understand, I'm not even halfway through a 10-year bid right now. I look at my bro. I look at the other dude. They're like, no, MP. But we're all like, damn. I could have jumped into that front seat and been gone. But I didn't. I sat my ass down. We waited for him to come back. But you talk about one extreme to the other. From being treated like a villainous, murderous villain, you're a criminal, to you could walk out if you want to. Minimum security. I dropped from medium high straight down to minimum. So now he comes out. We didn't take off. We pull up to the camp. And it's a different world. It's a totally different world. We skipped low altogether. We went straight from medium high, to minimum. Now, you walk into the unit, and it's just one unit. Just one unit for the whole camp. It's a big-ass unit, though. And there were rows of bunks lined up head to toe. And you had about maybe 18 inches at the most between bunks. And what's interesting about it, when you go to a lower security, you have less privacy, more freedom. Less respect, more freedom. The biggest plus was you get a big ass locker. It's like the higher security you are, the smaller storage space you get. And then the lower security, they give you more. So in the medium high, my locker was like, I don't know, it was about maybe 2.5 feet tall by like maybe 18 inches wide, and that's everything has to go into your locker. That's all your property. Well, now we got, it wasn't a walk-in closet, but it's a head to toe. The locker was about as tall as me, probably 5-6 feet tall, about 18 inches wide with shelves. You got places you can hang your clothes. Now all of a sudden you got all this storage space, but you have no privacy. No more cells, all open bay, no more locked doors. You can walk out this motherfucker whenever you want to. Now they do lock it at night, but you talk about, it's like you're in shock. You go from no freedom to all this freedom. But the respect level is just crazy. You got these dudes running around screaming, just no respect at all. And I remember my first bunkie. So now me and Slim, my co-defendant, they put him in the bunk right in front of me. So I could literally reach from my bunk and slap him if I wanted to. That's how close his bunk is to mine. And I don't remember who his cellie was, but my cellie was an OG. He had been on like 20-something years, worked his way all the way down from a USP to minimum security. Cool as a motherfucker. He was probably 60-something years old. His name was Mac. And I forget where Mac was from. I want to say he was from Carolina. A lot of people from Carolina because we're in Carolina. So Mac, now you really don't realize what the camp is all about until they cut those lights off. So they cut those lights off depending on the CO that's working. And then, I'm up on the top bunk. And if you're on the top bunk, it's a warehouse. I can sit up on my top bunk and I can see everything in the whole camp. I can see all the rows. And I couldn't even guesstimate how many people, but I'd say there was probably at least 18, 20 rows or more. Probably like 6 bunks per row. So do the math. Math is not my stronger, strength. So it's just a warehouse full, packed in like sardines. And anyway, at night when they cut those lights, you look and you see everybody's got a cell phone. Everybody in the camp had a cell phone. And I'm lying down, tired as hell because I had been in a holding cell all day, waiting to be, because even though I was going to the minimum from the medium high, they still drag your ass. You got to sit in that holding cell all day. Anytime you make a change or a transit, you're going to sit in a holding cell all day long. And so I'm tired as hell. I'm trying to get some sleep, but the whole unit came to life at night. And I see my cellie, and I smell liquor, and he's like, he's got this cup, and he had this big ass smile, and he puts the cup up to my face. He said, "Hey Sally, you want a sip of this gin?" So now we go from making clear where they take just basically household ingredients, or I should say, convict ingredients from the kitchen, stuff you can get from the commissary, like rotten potatoes and shit, to make wine, to like actual. Motherfuckers got half gallons hidden out in the wood line, and it's real liquor. They're not. If you're making liquor in the camp, something's wrong with you, because you got everything you could possibly imagine. There's no fence. You could walk out anytime you want. And the camp was crazy. Everybody sipping liquor, and I remember that night I was kind of hot because remember the respect level's not there in a medium high. A motherfucker will stab you for making noise at night. Motherfucker goes to bed at 9 o'clock sharp, wakes up at 4 o'clock in the morning, start doing their workouts and shit. At the camp, hell no, because most of these people don't have a lot of time. And even if they do have a lot of time, they've already done a whole bunch and they're accustomed to this camp life. And so they forget what it's like in the USP, in these places where there's more respect. So my bunk was the second from the end. Right? So it was the second one in from the end. And then on the end, there's a hallway and there's all these tables. So soon as they do that 10 o'clock count and the guard goes back into his office, the whole camp comes to life. These motherfuckers playing dominoes. They're playing cards. They're slamming cards down on the table. They're shuffling the dominoes, slamming dominoes down on the table. And I remember I woke up like 2 o'clock in the morning. I hear this country ass motherfucker slamming the shit out of these dominoes and shit right behind me. I'm not gonna lie, I was hot. And I'm looking and then I realized like, this is what it is, so it's like, it's give or take. Yeah, you got more freedom and the beds are thicker. You got these way thick. I couldn't believe that. I had a paper thin mattress in the medium high, like so thin that damn near you get bruises on you, to this big, thick, like damn near real mattress at the camp. So, but me, I can sleep anywhere. I can sleep on a cardboard box on the concrete if I had to. So it's not that big a deal to me, but it is for most people. You get this bigger, thicker mattress and much bigger showers. But the bathrooms were kind of hell because everything's kind of crammed. And, we were used to having bathrooms in a cell. You got your own bathroom. You just share it with your cellie. Nobody comes and uses your bathroom. Now you got to share bathrooms. Everybody got to smell everybody's shit. You're brushing your teeth next to everybody, and now everybody's spitting in the sink. Whereas, like, if you spit in the sink in a medium high, motherfucker will knife your ass. You don't spit in the sink. That's where you cook your food because you're locked in the cell. But you're not locked in the cell anymore. Now you got a whole nother sink over here where you could do food. You got, all these microwaves. You got washers and dryers again. You got 3 TV rooms now, and all these TVs. They got a TV room for everything in here. So. But the level of freedom was insane. So the closest town to this camp we were at, and it's still Williamsburg. It's the same complex. It's just outside of the fences. So now you're outside of those triple barbed wires. You're outside of that gun tower and all that shit, and you're at this little satellite camp, which is like a warehouse down the street. And the closest town was Manning. So what these motherfuckers do is... right after the 4 o'clock count in the afternoon, motherfuckers beeline into that wood line. They go get their pack, their sack, their bag with their phone, with their whatever in it, and there was a hotel right down the street. So what they do is they have their people come and visit, and now the visit's right there inside. It's not inside the unit, but it's a part of the complex. It's just on the other side of like the chapel area and like part of the rec area. So, people would talk to their family during a visit and set up a play to be able to have them come meet them. There was like a little dirt road alley outside of the wood line, and they would pick them up, take them to the hotel room. Now they can get some pussy. They go to the hotel room and meet their wife, their girlfriend, their side piece, whatever. You know, this is prison. You got all kinds in there, and it's like a different level of freedom. You know, but it's prison. So for anybody that says, "Oh, he did time in the camp," man, you're away from your people. You still, and your ass get wrong, you're gonna get extra time. So me, you know, I'm not giving these people an extra day. I wouldn't even talk on somebody's cell phone. I remember one of my homies that I met there. He knew somebody that knew me from the street, and one night he had the dude on the phone. One of my bros from outside of Ocala. I don't want to say his name right now, but he was like, "Yo, such and such on the phone for you." So, and I'm like, "For real?" He's like, yeah. So I was like, "Yeah, tell him I said what up." He's like, "Yo, talk to him." I'm like, "No, I'm cool." You know what I mean? You're not. You can get 6 months to a year extra for a cell phone. So, and everybody do it, but shit, I'm not giving these people an extra day. And there's nobody worth talking to like that for me. You know what I mean? All my people down in Florida, I'm way out here in Carolina. So the camp is just a completely different world, and the level of practical jokes were next level. You know, like, so there was this, I don't want to say this guy's name, we'll just call him BC. He knows who he is. B motherfucking C. I'm going to send you this podcast as soon as we drop. So there, I remember they were doing count one night, and I keep hearing somebody yell. It was supposed to be real quiet, and I keep hearing somebody yell. I don't know what they're yelling at first. I can't decipher what it is, but he keeps yelling. It's supposed to be real quiet, and the cop is getting all pissed off because somebody's yelling it. But he was yelling vagina at the top of his lungs. He's going vagina. So, and I'm looking around trying to see who it is, right? And I'm thinking it's like some young kid. You know, you got these young kids in there, that fresh, they don't have a lot of, I say young kids, but, you know, in their 20s that don't got a lot of time, don't have serious charges. And then I see this motherfucker, and he's got like this thing that he made to put over his eyes, and he's got the blanket up. And he looks like he's asleep. That's why I didn't notice every time I try to see who's yelling. I don't see it. And then finally I see his mouth go, and this is like the least assuming person you would ever imagine. This is like a really conservative, like older white guy. Not like an old man, but like, you know, close to middle-aged white guy yelling, vagina. I can't make this shit up, man. And so this same dude, I remember one of the first nights I was there, so somebody had crutches. And I told you all the dudes at night would be playing cards and all that, and then people would be making their rounds bored. People don't want to stay in the bed. They're walking around chopping it up. If they're not playing cards, they're just sitting over there, you know, bidding, looking for something to do at night because they can't sleep. So he took the end of the crutch that goes up under the arm, the cushion, and he rolled it up to make it look exactly like a dick. And it's flesh tone, right? It looked exactly like a dick. And he put it through his pants and had it hanging out the bottom of his shorts. And these dudes were over there playing cards, and he puts his leg up on top of the chair, and it looks like he's got this big ass dick hanging out of his leg. And so everybody's playing cards, and then finally everybody jumps up. Oh shit, what the fuck, man? What the fuck wrong? They really thought it was a dick because it's kind of dark and it looks like a dick. So, but these are the kind of things, I mean, that shit will get you stabbed in a higher security institution, like gay jokes and all this shit. So it's just a completely different world. But while we're on the subject matter of practical jokes, this same dude, he made us laugh. Like, thank God for this man at this spot, because a lot of us are going through shit. Yeah, we're at a camp, but still, we're away from our families. We're still doing time. Some of us still got a lot of time. I'm not even halfway into my sentence. And this man gave me some laughs. Like, I mean, some of the best laughs I ever had in my life. He would do like caricatures of certain people, making fun of them. People that he didn't even fuck with. You know, some people that would probably want to fuck him up. He would do like these caricatures of them, and he would put them on the bulletin board. Like where they put the menu and where they put like where the call outs, where I told you if you got shit you got to do the next day, you get what's called a call out. So everybody in the whole camp can see it, including the cops. And he would do like these caricatures that were hilarious. But the funniest, I think, joke I ever saw them do in there was the motherfucking fart jar. So they, I mean, you're locked up. These dudes are middle-aged. You would think they were 12 years old. And these aren't no like hillbilly country bumpkins. These are like white-collar guys who come from money and are in there for white-collar shit, had plenty of things going on the street, very intelligent, engineering degree, you know what I mean? Like, these aren't country, but they're playing country games. So the dude was like, I wonder, they're sitting in the back watching TV late at night, and they're like, man, I wonder if you could catch a fart. And the dude's like, I don't know, let's see. So he's like, hey man, you got an empty peanut butter jar? You got an empty peanut butter jar? He's like, yeah. So the dude, he's like, man, fuck, go get it, I got a fart. So he's holding it. So the dude takes the peanut butter jar and he farts in it, right? And then he seals it up real fast. And then he forgot about it. He put it in his locker. So a whole day goes by. And he's like, man, I wonder if that motherfucker's still in there. So he opens up the fart jar and with the peanut butter jar, and he opens it up and he smells it. He's like, oh god damn, that motherfucker stinks. So there was this one dude, his name was Country. He was a big country white boy from Charlotte, North Carolina. Big dude and real goofy and funny as hell. Good heart, just like not the sharpest tool in the shed. Real goofy dude. And nosy as fuck. You got your locker open, you might have a banana in your locker, and that's considered contraband. You can get a shot and get shipped for having a banana in your locker, right? So his nosy ass, he might be way across the other side. You open up your locker to get something, he sees the banana. LP, I like bananas. LP, I like bananas. Hey, I like apples. And now he's dry snitching. Everybody in the whole yard knows that I got contraband in my fucking locker. And I'm like, goddamn, Country. So this is how nosy this motherfucker is. So they decide that they're going to play a practical joke on Country. And they're sitting in the back by the TVs. And so the man, we had chili for lunch that day. And this motherfucker, I'm just gonna call him BC. He was getting everybody's chili. He's like, yo, give me a chili. Hey, give me a chili. He's eating all these beans and it's like grade D beef. It's like dog food. He's eating all this shit. It's just like gorging on all this horrible ass chili. And he said that his stomach was so fucked up that it was almost immediately like gas, almost immediately. But he was holding it, just trying to make it just as disgusting as possible. And he said right when he felt like it was in his peak, when he was like literally about to shit his pants, he farted in the fart jar, right? Sealed it up. Now they're in the back, and I remember I was just about to fall asleep. And they got that motherfucker so good. So they literally put on a scene with this other dude, we'll call him Noah. Noah and BC, B motherfucking C. They're in the back by the TV. And they set Country up. So now they got a fake jar that's open. And then they got the real jar that has the fart in it, that's sealed. And I remember they even, just so they didn't mix them up, they wrote AJ on it in permanent marker. Ass jar, right? So the one dude's got the ass jar and the other one's got the dummy jar, and they're pretending to smell it. He's like, I washed this peanut butter jar over and over again, and it still smells funny, man. I don't know. He's like, smell that, man. Does that smell like, oh? And they're going back and forth. And then the man took the bait, hook, line, and sinker. He snatched the fart jar out of the dude's hand. He said, give me that. He opened it up and he took this big ass whiff. God, I remember this is what woke me up. I heard, God damn it. And then you heard the jar go ding, 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 ding. And they were way across the unit and the jar went all the way down. But they got his ass. Oh, did they get his ass. So that's just one of the many practical jokes And I'm gonna tell one more, and then I'm gonna tell you about something else. So there was this one hillbilly ass motherfucker, racist ass motherfucker, and nobody liked him. I'm not gonna say his name. We just call him Coop. All right. And it is what it is, Coop. If you're watching this, nobody likes this motherfucking rat. So Coop would rat about the dumbest shit. So now, I remember I told y'all in the BOP they banned weights. These creative, innovative motherfuckers would, in the back of the kitchen, they had these bars that they somehow got from welding. And they had these benches that they stole from rec, and they made benches out of milk crates. And then what they would do, they had a scale in the recreation department. And you got to remember, there's no supervision at the camp. We were doing whatever the fuck we want to do in this motherfucker. There's one cop and like 60 of us at least. No, 60. There was probably 160 people in that camp. I think there was about 160 people in that camp, and one cop. And so he can only watch so much. And this is a big ass yard. The camp has, you got a quarter-mile track. It might even be a half-a-mile track. You got basketball courts. You got a softball field. You got all this shit in just one cop. So it's easy to maneuver. So right after the count, everybody would go into the back and they would work out. And they would take these fucking rocks and they would weigh them on the scale, and then they would put them in the milk crates. So all, the bodybuilder workout dudes, now they're getting from the street, because I told you about the wood line, right? How people smuggle things in. Well, I told you, when you want things smuggled in the higher institutions, you either have to pay a cop to do it, or somebody just throws it over the yard and hope that somebody intercepts it. Throws it over the fence and hope somebody intercepts it and doesn't get caught doing it, right? But now in the camp, anybody can go. They put you in green already, so it's camouflage. And as soon as the cop goes to turn in the count, that's why 4 o'clock count was the lick, because now he counts and he has to go turn his count in. BOP wide. So now it's free game. He's going to be gone for a minute. Everybody hits the wood line. So these dudes would hit the wood line. They would bring back creatine, protein. They bring back, their cigarettes, liquor, weed, whatever the fuck you want. And so all these dudes are on their workout time. They're taking their fat burners. They're taking their amino acids, their creatine, their protein. And so all these workout dudes are in the back behind the kitchen. They got their milk crates swinging from these stainless steel, not stainless steel, these rusty ass bars, but shit that they stole from welding, and they're working out. Well, the motherfucker Coop, the rat, he was jealous because nobody fucked with him, and they didn't want him in the workout car. The workout car is kind of like real niche. You got to be like one of the homies, and like nobody fucks with you, Coop. You know what I mean? And then plus people would take other people's weights, take other people's bars. It's cutthroat as a motherfucker. And me, I'm fucking with body weight shit. Just give me my little dip bar and pull up bar. And of course, they don't even have that, so you got to do makeshift. But to speed things up to the practical joke. So Coop was salty about them having more weights than him and having more bars than him, and then just people not fucking with him. So he's dropping notes. And he don't know. It's easy to find out who's dropping notes. It's the motherfucker that's salty all the time with the balled up face, like he's sucking a lemon all the time, and always got some slick ass passive aggressive shit to say. And he talks real soft and he says it real slick. You talk about talking under your breath. Well, Coop is, if talking under the breath was a person, that's snitching ass Coop, right? So he also had dentures. And he would put his dentures on his desk. Now, we went from, in the medium high, these little tiny ass desks that are into the ground, to now, in between the two lockers, you actually have like this big ass desk that you can use to write. I was soaking that up as somebody who writes. That was like my favorite part of the camp, my big ass desk that I got to use. My celly don't write shit, so I pretty much got it to myself. My celly's getting drunk all that damn day. So anyway, Coop would leave his dentures on the desk. And one day, somebody decided they were going to teach Coop a lesson. Yeah, you got something to say? You got something to say? Well, when you take a motherfucking dentures, it's real hard for them to talk a little bit. They talk like that. So they took Coop's dentures, and a whole whirlwind of shit happened because of that, because he told on that, and those dentures were expensive. He got them through medical. You know what I mean? They basically looked at it like somebody stole government property. Now, I will expound on all the shit that transpired out of that because it affected the course of my future. But I want to pause on that and go into other aspects of the camp now. So now we're at this minimum security, and of course I need to find a job now. And everybody's like, oh yeah, you got to try to get in the food service warehouse. And so I told you how you got the different cliques and the gangs in the medium high. Well, in the camp, it's not really like that. Like, you don't have gangs. You got little cliques. It's real different. There's a lot of pussy shit. There's a lot of like just uppity, I'm better than you. We're the cool guys. We got the money. You know what I mean? Like, and of course, there's always going to be the people who have the money. They have these little followings of just like henchmen and people dick riding and everything else that you see in everyday life, but in this microcosm. So the white boys are like, you'll never get a job in food service. You'll never get a job. It's, and I don't like to make shit about race, but everybody else does, and it's just a part of life. So, the white boys are like, you'll never get a job. They don't take our kind. They don't take our kind. You know what I mean? Because these white guys are the super minority in prison, and they're always trying to like seek camaraderie and people to back them. And, again, I don't play the race shit. It's just everybody else seems to and tries to pull me into the middle of all their bullshit. So, but it just so happened that the dudes that were actually running the food service warehouse, they get to choose who they're going to work with. Now, ultimately, the cops do, but the cops know that the convicts are going to work better if they're around people that they want to be there, rather than have all this conflict and have like an unfriendly work environment. So, this dude hollers at me. We'll call him Bama, and then we'll just call the other dude C. So C, Bama, and then the homie who I talk to this day, we'll just call him New York, because he's from New York, by way of Carolina. Anyway, they took me aside and they're like, yo, you want a job in the food service warehouse? And I was like, what? I couldn't believe it, because everybody's like, that's like an impossible thing to get. But they already peeped it, that I'm not like the rest of these dudes. I'm not on some weird politics shit. I'm super low key. I don't bother nobody. I'm not on no rat shit. I'm not in there looking to see what everybody's doing. People like to fuck with people like that. Just like in the streets, people want to fuck with somebody like that. So they brought me on to the food service warehouse. And the girl, I don't remember her name, but she was sexy. This little short, sexy motherfucker. And she used to flirt like a motherfucker. She used to try to like rub her booty up against me. And I'm scared. I'm afraid if I touch her, they're going to lock me up. Like, I'm like, I haven't been this close to a woman in a really long time. And so, the food service warehouse was sweet, but I was only there. And so just to give you an idea, in the food service warehouse, I got my forklift certification. So you're driving forklifts, you're driving pallet jacks, you're driving hand pallets. So the food service warehouse was the place to be, because that's where you can hustle. You can steal food out of it. Plus, they actually pay. They pay way better. It's like the commissary job I told you about, and the Unicorn job I told you about in the other spot. So anyway, I only had this job for like 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden the camp got locked down. And when the camp gets locked down, it's not like the medium high where you're locked in your room with your cellie. They just lock the door, and then it's like a bunch of juvenile delinquents, only you're a grown ass man in this sardine ass fucking can of a unit, right? But it's like no reg, no TV, and they're crying, but I'm like, shit, this is freedom. I'm not locked in my cell, smelling my bunky shit all day. No, this is sweet. Like, this is the best lockdown I ever had in my life. But anyway, they locked us all down, and then they locked up all the dudes from the food service warehouse. And so I thought I was getting locked up too, but I only been there 2 weeks. But the first thing you do when you know you're going to the hole, when you're going to get locked up in jail, is you get your radio. Because if you don't have it with you, you can't get your property for a really long time. So what you do is you get batteries and you get your radio. So now I'm sitting in the TV room, pretending to watch TV, really just waiting for them to call me, because I'm like, fuck, I haven't been to camp in 2 weeks and I'm already getting locked up. I got a packet full of batteries and I got my radio like just ready to go. Like, okay, they're coming to get me. Well, they never came to get me. But what it was that cool ass CO that was sweet as fuck. She was helping them bring the pack in. One of them was sending shit to her house, and then she would bring it into the warehouse, and then the dudes would bring bring the shit from the warehouse into the unit. I don't know what it was. We'll just say it was, it's a little bit of everything. Liquor, cell phones, whatever it is that people get from the street and can sell for an insanely inflated price. A motherfucker could get $1,000 for a cell phone in there. And I mean, I know an iPhone costs like $1,000, so, but I'm talking about like a $40 cell phone that you sell for like $1,000. So this is like my introduction to the camp, and I skated past all that drama because they knew I didn't know nothing. Because I had just got there. So now I got to find another job, and I became the orderly. And as the orderly, it was a motherfucker because whatever your job detail is, like, you're responsible for that area. So if there's some kind of contraband, like for example, it was my job to clean the TV rooms, right? But if they find a cell phone in the TV room, well then I could go to the hole for it. I get charged with it. I'm not on no snitching shit. But I don't play no games. You're not about to get me fucked up on the humbug. So I would go in there to clean it, and motherfuckers would have their cell phones plugged in. And so I'd go out there and I'd be like, yo, man, y'all need to get your phone before I smash it. And of course, that created a little bit of friction. Like I almost got into it with a couple dudes. But listen, I don't play the radio. Now keep your motherfucking phone out the, I'm not on no police shit. I'm not going to tell you. I'm just going to break your shit. Because I'm not about to get fucked up for something you got going on, right? Well, I chilled out after a while, but that was just in the beginning when I very first got there, and I'm kind of skittish because I just got to a camp. I'm not trying to fuck up my time. It's a different world. There's no respect. I really don't like the fact that there's no respect, so it's like bittersweet. Yeah, there's more freedom, but I'm feeling kind of fucked up because everywhere you go, motherfuckers got no respect. They're talking to you any kind of way. They're doing just wild shit that, the average adult out here is not going to go for, but it's like they start treating you like children, you start turning into children, right? So it's like you got all these grown ass men acting like children. So from that job, I put in what's called a cop-out, basically an application to get into commissary because I already kind of knew the warehouse people and they knew that I was good people, that I wasn't on no bullshit. And commissary, honestly, is the best job you can have in that whole spot. It is a really sweet job. I forget what it paid, but like I was getting, I want to say like up to a couple $100 a month. And that's a lot of money in there. You know what I mean? That is a lot of money in there. Like I went from making 30 cents an hour to a couple $100 a month. So now you got this whole little prison economy shit again going in here, but it's on a much bigger scale because now you have access to everything. Anything you want from the streets can be brought in. People are taking orders. Dudes used to literally drop off like whole cook-ups, lobster tails, crawfish, steaks. I mean, you name it. The shit people were eating, and the people were eating better in there than they were in the streets. So it's just a totally different life in the camp. There's so many camp stories that I could tell you, but I really want to talk more about what I was doing to improve myself, right? So I told you in the medium, I was taking all these classes from all these unbelievable fitness instructors, right? And what I didn't tell you is I got with this dude named T from Florida, and then this other dude from Connecticut, and they were like top tier fitness professionals, right? Who actually were Division I athletes in the streets, and they were also like solid, good, real people. And now if I'm rewinding a little bit to when I was in the medium high, but these dudes taught a class called NFPT. And NFPT is the National Federation of Professional Trainers. And as somebody who used training to, elevate my life when I got home, I can't tell you how valuable that was. And it wasn't put in place by the BOP. It was put in place by convicts. But you could actually get certified to be a trainer in prison. You just have to pay the money and then have the test proctored, where you go to the recreation department and you take the test for the certification. So I started studying for that in about 2009, right? But I wasn't going to pay to get certified because you have to renew it every year, and I didn't have any money. But by the time I got to the camp, now I'm making more money, and I'm getting closer. and I have more access to tools, more resources. You know what I mean? Less tension on the mind. You don't have to worry about a bunch of drama, people getting stabbed and shit. That's just not going on at the camp. I mean, it can, but not over here. It was just a bunch of goofballs. But so now I'm hitting the books real heavy, and I think it was by the end of 2010 or early 2011, I started studying to take this test, and then I had it proctored, and I got certified in there. And so through that certification process, now I got the commissary job, but I got with the recreation department. They didn't have fitness classes at the camp. Nobody at the camp really gave a shit about anything. Like I told you in the medium high, you had like crochet classes, you had leather making classes, you had like all these art classes. Well, at the camp, all anybody cares about is getting drunk, getting their cell phone, trying to sneak out to get a piece of pussy, or just like getting food. If you weren't into, alcohol, drugs, and like trying to sneak you a piece of pussy, then you were just into eating. So, you're waiting until people bring in street food so you can eat street food. Like people don't care much about bettering themselves. They don't care much about education. They don't care much about like planning what you're going to do when you get out. However, there were some white collar guys who started some classes on real estate that were next level, like teaching you secrets. I mean, secrets that could probably get you indicted because some of them were doing time for that. But they're teaching you like tax loopholes, how to set up trust, how to set up, how to write for grants. There's some super sharp stuff, but the recreation department was just dead because all anybody cared about were those weights on the back, getting their supplements, getting their steroids, getting whatever they can so they can pump up for when they get home or get their little piece of pussy, from the wood line. So I talked to the head of the rec department and I'm like, listen, I want to start classes. And all the naysayers were like, oh, nobody ain't gonna take those classes, man. Nobody gives a fuck about that. Yeah. So I was like, man, shut the fuck up, whatever. I'm doing me. So I set up fitness classes and I got paid through Gatorades. So this was like my introduction to coaching. And if you know me from like post prison, you know that was my bread and butter. Like that's what kept me out of the streets. That's what paid my bills. That was my food. That was how I ate when I got home. But it all started in there, from going from exercising to sharpening my tool belt, taking classes with other people, whether it be yoga, stretch, fitness. And I actually did teach my first class in the medium high. The dude JC that I told you that would taught me was my first introduction to yoga. He had a medical call out and he was like, hey man, I need somebody to teach my class. And I was like, yeah, I don't know why you're asking me. He's like, what do you mean, man? You know everything I know. You're good and you're good with people. He's like, teach it. I was like, no, bro, I'm not doing that. And he was like, listen, man, just teach it. He's like, I need you. And he kind of put a little pressure on me. And I kind of felt like I owed him because he had showed me so much and I learned so much from him. And I actually led the class. And people actually loved it. And it was a great feeling. So I thought, wow, I actually can do this. Now, I didn't teach another class until I got to the camp. But now that I'm at the camp, I'm like, okay, I can be using this little microcosm to train people. I started taking on some private clients. I started, I'd give them a little commissary list and they'd get me some shit from commissary and I'd be helping them with their food, helping them with their exercise. And now I'm officially certified. And, a lot of people say, well, why would you do that? That's dumb as fuck. Like, why are you going to get certified when you know you can't use that? But what people don't realize is like, you got somebody who came from the streets who, I never had a job more than a couple months. I've never kept a job. I used to in the free world, I would get a paycheck and then I'd quit my job and I'd take that paycheck and I'd go, to the trap and then I'd flip that money and then I wouldn't have to have a job anymore because I'm hustling, right? But so that was my work ethic. That's my resume. Well, how the fuck am I going to get a job in the free world if I don't have a resume? So my logic was, let me get certified now, start teaching these fitness classes now. And at the end of my bid, I have a resume. And so somebody was teaching resume classes and I would go to all of them and they would actually do job fairs. And the job fairs were supposed to be somebody within a year of their release. And motherfuckers used to clown me like, what the fuck you doing go to that job fair? Motherfucker, you still got like 10 years. And I would be like, man, mind your business. I got a plan. I would go to the job fairs. I would soak up. I would talk to people who were hiring, and because I don't want to become institutionalized. I don't want to come out here into this world and not know how to carry a conversation. That's what happens. You become institutionalized. You can lay down on your fucking bed every day for fucking 10 years, and then when you go to an interview, you sound like you're in fucking kindergarten. I'm not trying to be like that. And if anybody, I'm afraid none of y'all have to do a bid, but if you do, start fucking planning your release the day you get in. Start making a plan for when you come home. Nobody's going to give you shit. You got the odds stacked against you. I told you I got over 100 no's before I finally got a yes when I came home to the free world with this resume. So by the time I hit the turf, I already had X amount of years experience as a fitness instructor, a certified fitness instructor, because I paid that $85 fee annually. Even if I had no money on my books, I would take that little bit of money that I had and I would renew it, because I knew when I came out, this is my resume. And to be real with you, most of the gyms didn't give a fuck. And even the one gym that I did get, they really didn't give a fuck. They wanted to see what I knew. But here's the thing. I could get out into that free world, and I could compete with top tier trainers who had degrees in kinesiology, exercise science, people who had Division I sports backgrounds, and all these fancy degrees. And here I am, I went to the fucking University of motherfucking Bureau of Prisons, and I can outshine these motherfuckers in a fitness class. I got the knowledge base, I got the experience, and I know how to talk to people. So that's what I did with my time in that camp. I ran these yards. And then this one dude from Kissimmee, Fudge, shout out Fudge if you're watching this. I hope you're doing okay, homie. But I was out there teaching this class, and I was showing these people these moves. And Fudge was yelling, MP, hey man, when you get out that road, you stay away from my house. He was talking about, like, me going out and taking people, wives and shit. Just a little friendly joke. But the thing is, as much as people clowned me for what I was doing, they respected it. And some of those same people that clowned me when nobody was around on the low, they come be like, hey, yo, man, I don't know what I'm doing. I got this stomach. I'm trying to get this weight off me. I'm going home soon. And then boom. And I'm not charging people for this shit. The only time I charge people is when they offered. I didn't charge nobody for shit. I'm going to be real with y'all, man. I could have used that as a hustle, but I had a good job at commissary. You know what I mean? I had a couple real close homies that would bless me every now and again. Like, I didn't have money in the streets. Feds took everything from me. So everything I got is I'm making it here, or people are blessing me from the turf. So, from the streets. So, but at the same time, I'm building my resume. I'm taking on clients, and I'm changing lives from within. Helping people live longer. Helping people overcome shit like high blood pressure, diabetes, type 2, you know what I mean? From poor health choices, poor lifestyle choices. So this is what I was doing with my time in the camp. And so, the camp was a pretty incredible experience in prison. I met some really unbelievable people that I still talk to this day. I got some great experience teaching fitness classes. And I'm trying to see, before I wrap up this whole camp thing, I want to make sure that I'm not leaving any important things out, because there's a lot to talk about in terms of the minimum security. But I will say this. So I got there, I had the commissary job, everything's sweet. The visits were super sweet. Now you don't have to go sit and get strip searched every time. Occasionally you would, but usually they just pat you down and they don't bother you. You can sit with your family. It was super laid back. So all good things must come to an end. And it was good. It was better than what it was. And so you get real comfortable in that motherfucker, because you got your bid going, you got your routine going, you got your schedule going. Well, the camp had something like a warden, and it wasn't the big warden, it was assistant warden. And this motherfucker came. I'm not gonna lie, she looked good, she was kind of sexy, but she was a cold-blooded piece of shit, a cold-blooded bitch. I wish I could remember her name, because I would love to look this bitch right in the eye and tell her what a piece of shit she is. So, visitation is a privilege. When you get locked down at the camp, they take your privileges. And the main privileges that you have are your cell phone. I mean, not cell phone. You're not supposed to have no fucking cell phone. I mean, the pay phone. The TV, that's a big privilege. They used to love to take the TV, and that's how they would encourage people to snitch. Like, even OGs who had been down a long time, they're locked in on their shows. You don't fuck with a motherfucker show. You fuck with their show, they'll tell it all. This motherfucker didn't tell on the case, got 30 years for fucking 2 ounces of crack, and this motherfucker will tell on you about that goddamn TV. So, that's how they get people to tell. Some shit goes down, and then these motherfuckers start dropping notes late at night under the officer's door, like literally dropping notes and sliding under the door when nobody's looking, and that's how they would tell, right? So they could get their TV back. So because they would say, oh, we need to know who did whatever, and most people are going to keep it solid, but there's always going to be that motherfucking coop in the group who goes and tells on some shit, and so because they want their TV back, they want their privileges back, so. Now I'm going to revisit when somebody stole Coop's teeth. So his bitch ass couldn't go and rap. Well, that didn't stop him. That motherfucker couldn't talk no more, but he could still write notes. So he told that they stole his teeth. They locked us down indefinitely. Now, if you remember when I started telling you about my personal life and how I never really had a relationship with my grandfather, something that I did when I was away is I wrote people who I wanted a relationship with that I wasn't focused on when I was in the free world. And for me, being that I lost my grandfather when I was young, my grandfather that I knew close and I named my son after, I wanted a relationship with my one surviving grandfather because you get real, introspective when you're confined and when you're incarcerated. You're able to take a look at yourself that maybe you don't have time to do when you're out here in this world and you're having to keep up with bills and you're having to keep up with, just all these responsibilities and distractions that you have when you have access to all this freedom. Right? So you start to bring your awareness inward and you start to think like, who am I? Right? Well, some of us do. Some of us just fucking, drink, smoke, whatever you can do, whatever you have access to. Right? Well, I was introspective and there's so many unanswered questions about myself because I don't know my grandfather. So I started writing letters to my grandfather. I started writing letters to my grandfather when I was in the medium. And we set up a visit. My grandfather was coming all the way from Florida to come see me in South Carolina with his wife, who's like a grandmother, right? And it just so happened that this bitch-ass motherfucking assistant warden locked us down on the weekend that my grandfather was coming into town. So I couldn't call home because they took the phones. So I go to talk to the CO, the cop, and I'm like, listen, can I see the assistant warden? Because, my family came all the way down from Florida just for this weekend. And, you took our visitation. We didn't do anything. Like, I would like to appeal. Like, is there something I can do? So he's like, well, listen, man. He's like, go at your own risk. But she's in there right now in the secretary's office. Now, the secretary was this beautiful ass girl. I forgot her name. She was sexy as fuck. And in the secretary's office was another little desk in the back where the assistant warden was. So I go in there to speak to her. And you know how people get wide-eyed and crazy and you can't even get through to them for nothing, right? And now remember, there's no locked doors. It's not like I'm kicking in the door. It's not like I'm busting in. I kindly knocked on the door. The secretary let me in. And then I kindly, went in there and I said, excuse me, ma'am. I was super polite and super respectful. And as soon as I walked in there, she said, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. All crazy and shit. I don't want to talk about it. And I was like, excuse me, ma'am. I don't want to talk about it. I was like, but I don't want to talk about it. I told you I don't want to talk about it. And I said, okay, all right, fine, okay. So I left. That was it. Right hand to God. That's all that happened. Well, that same officer that drove us there in the Taurus, or not the Taurus, the Malibu, was on duty that day. His name was Torres. Cool as fuck. And I remember this dude, Jamie, who was one of the orderlies, cool as a motherfucker. I forget where Jamie was from, but he was cool as fuck. Jamie was like, yo, MP. He's like, hey man, they're locking you up, dog. I was like, locking me up for what? He's like, I don't know, man, but they said you're locking you up, and everybody's on joke time. He's like, man, go ask Torres. And I go to Torres. I was like, Torres, man, why is everybody telling me that you're looking for me, that you're trying to lock me up? He's like, no, Myello, man, I'm not locking you up. What are you talking about? He's like, no, he didn't know me as Myello. I don't know how he knew me as. He knew me, but he didn't know my name. He's like, no, I'm not locking you up, man. He's like, you're good. He's like, what's your name? And I said, Myello. He's like, damn. He's like, man, I gotta lock you up. I was like, for real? He's like, yeah, I don't know what you did in there, but she's pissed. So, packed all my shit out, fucking put me in the hole, and now I'm fighting it. And I got this dude, this like jailhouse lawyer. Now I'm back on the kite shit. Remember I told you about the car? I'm right back where I started from before. Sending the kite in for coffee, and now I don't got no commissary. Now I don't got nothing. I'm the one. I got the stamps, and I'm trying to buy the coffee because they took my phone, they took my commissary, they weren't giving me my fucking mail. Okay, they stripped me from everything. They put me in a fucking hole. The bitch wrote me a 300 series shot for disobeying a direct order. I tried to get the secretary to get behind me. Other COs, cops even visited me and were like, listen, man, you got people vouching for you. You got people saying that they saw what was going on. But you got to remember, she's the warden. She's shipping you. She put a management variable on you to put you outside of your custody level. She's shipping you to a disciplinary spot. So that was it. I got one disciplinary. I got one shot. My entire bid for some shit I didn't even fucking do. So now I'm going to go ahead and end episode 10. I will pick up on episode 11. And I'll tell you about Yazoo City, which everything, happens for a reason. So I appreciate y'all checking in, man. Drop some comments, like, share. Please share. We got to get this story out, y'all. Please support us so we can keep this coming. And I mean, when I say support, I mean, hit the like button. Hit the notification button. Hit the follow button. And if you can rate this on whatever podcast service that you're using, like Spotify, Apple, whatever the case may be, leave us a review, y'all. It's Live Struggle Legacy. We building pyramids.
Live struggle legacy. It's a whole movement.